Well, pleasure to be with you. Larry, good to see you back here, so in Aspen. Nice to have you here. And thank all of you for taking time out of your evening to be here and the great enthusiasm that we're seeing out of Pitkin County. And I want to echo some comments that have been made. The Pitkin County Central Committee, Jill, and especially Frida Wallison, thank you for all of your hard work on behalf of the Republican Party. Thank you. Now, I'm very pleased that Jill mentioned we do have our first granddaughter. She just celebrated her first birthday and was incredibly mindful as we auctioned off the flags and we had the men and women who have so proudly served in the United States military to be able to come forward. My granddaughter's first birthday, her dad, my son-in-law Chris, celebrated it via a telephone. He's currently deployed flying a B-1 bomber out of Qatar, and one of the great pictures that we have is a flag that we have flowing over the United States Capitol over the dash of that B-1 bomber as they're going out to protect American freedom. Well, a real pleasure for me, obviously, to be able to be here and see this enthusiasm. I'd like to be able to give you just a little bit of an update on some of the legislation that we are working on. I'm pleased to be able to report to you that our Healthy Forest Management and Wildfire Bill is going to be moving to the floor of the House of Representatives during this month. We've also got our Protecting Our Water Rights Act, which we were able to get through the House of Representatives with bipartisan support. In the last Congress, when Harry Reid was running the show, never had a hearing. Well, now we've got a new sheriff in town. And we are hopeful that we're going to be able to see this legislation move forward, and so proud, and he wanted me to be able to extend his regrets that he couldn't be here this evening with us. Our Senator Cory Gardner, you know, you got a bottle with Cory Gardner on it. I guarantee you this is a guy you cannot bottle up. I'm so proud to have Cory Gardner representing us in the United States Senate. You know, when we're looking at this Water Rights Act, it became far more important just recently. You probably heard in the news that the EPA finalized a rule called Waters of the U.S., or WOTUS. I'd like to be able to adjust that, frankly. Let's make a woe to us with the federal government getting control of our water. We have to be able to protect this. The impact that this is going to have on the West and throughout the nation, but it's about regulations. We see an administration that is in hyperdrive for regulatory control. And one of the great frustrations that we have is the response mechanisms that we have out of Congress. You know, here in the state of Colorado, we have sunset legislation, meaning at point certain, Bob Rankin is going to be able to review rules and regulations that have come out to make sure, and he does do a good job, but Bob is going to be able to stand up and to be able to review those rules and regulations. Did they exceed legislative intent? Did they not meet legislative intent? It can go both ways. But in Washington, if we want to be able to actually impact rules and regulations, it takes that proverbial act of Congress, a bill through the House, a bill through the Senate, and a presidential signature to be able to remove something that no member of the House of Representatives, no senator, no Republican, no Democrat ever voted on. Is that good common sense? It is not. You know, I've been supporting and advocating, and I know Paul has as well, the REINS Act, to be able to get Congress back into that regulatory mix, to be able to make sure that we are having our voice heard and that we do not have an overzealous regulatory body that's impacting us. Right now, as businesses, we are paying $2 trillion a year in regulatory costs. Why is that important? Because it makes the cost of a loaf of bread, a gallon of gasoline, clothes for our children to be able to go back to school cost just that much more. But I'm incredibly mindful in our district as well that it's about our folks. It's about jobs. You know, Brandy Meeks is here out of Moffat County, out of the community of Craig. Was over there, they're being threatened now, losing 200 coal jobs. These are families that want to be able to provide for their future, contribute back to the community. Started actually with the EPA and rules and regulations that continue to expand. Culminated in a court decision that was actually initiated by a lawsuit that was filed by the Wild Earth Guardians. I want to let you know, I am in a room full of environmentalists right now. There isn't one of us that doesn't love clean air, clean water, but we want to be able to have that ability to be able to grow our businesses. We've got great technology. We have to be able to actually develop our resources here to be able to put our people back to work. To that end, I've reintroduced our Planning for America's Energy Future Act, which literally calls for all of the above, and it's enumerated in the bill. Wind, solar, geothermal, hydroelectric, oil, gas, oil shale, minerals. Let's develop these resources. Let's create American energy on American soil, put Americans back to work, and create American energy security. Now, I'll close on my end, at least, with a little bit of a personal thing. There's always great risk in things that you do, and there's probably nothing more threatening, and I hope somebody signed up. There was, in the silent auction, an opportunity to have breakfast with me. Now, see, in an election, generally I can count on my wife to at least vote for me, but it's pretty frightening. If nobody wants to have breakfast with me, I'll assure you I will buy it, so we can reopen that one back up. So. Now, it's a real privilege for me to be able to be here this evening and to be able to introduce our keynote speaker. He's a friend, and I think someone that everyone in this room recognizes as probably one of the most coherent and innovative voices that we hear in Washington, D.C. Dedicated to that principle that we must fix America now. That begins today. But the solutions for that, the solutions for fixing America now, they will not reside with bigger government, higher taxes, more regulations. We've been down that path. We have a president right now that is fully committed to that principle, and we are seeing the results. More small businesses shutting down than new business startups. The lowest labor participation rate that we've had in 4 decades in this country. Would it be an appropriate time for us to put America back to work and let free enterprise work? You bet it is. Well, I'll tell you what. We have an architect of vision in our presence tonight. Someone who is putting forward plans to be able to balance the budget that we passed through the House of Representatives, by the way. Someone who is looking out the windshield, understanding that if we attack prosperity, if we attack the job creators, we're inhibiting that ability for all of our young kids that are beginning life right now to be able to live what so many of us believed was an American birthright, that right to be able to live the American dream. Challenge stands before us. 2016 is coming up. We had a great presidential candidate, and I think a stellar vice presidential candidate in this last election. And if I may, I'd like to tell just one little story on Paul. I had the opportunity to be able to campaign with him. Corey and I met up with him in Pueblo, Colorado. As they pointed out when we got up on the stage, Pueblo West, Colorado. Proud of that community. We got onto the plane after that program, and we were flying towards Durango. And we continued to fly, and Paul said, "Well, are we still in your district?" And I said, "Yes, we are." We landed in Durango, Colorado, joined by the Speaker of the House and other folks. Great program in Durango, Colorado. Reboarded the plane, and we started flying again towards Grand Junction. Again, after a little while, Paul said, "Are we still in your district?" I said, "Yes, we are." You know, just for Paul, I know, has looked at that map since, but we have 29 of the 64 counties of Colorado, 54,000 square miles of our state. And as I like to be able to point out to our colleagues out of Texas, if we flatten this out, we'd be bigger in the state of Texas. So, but it's a great privilege to be able to be here with you. I want to let you know my wife, Jean, getting ready to drive our daughter back to South Dakota. My son-in-law's deployment is ending, and she wanted me to extend her best wishes and wish that she could join us here tonight. But thank all of you for the opportunity to be able to represent what I believe is the best, most beautiful district in the United States, the 3rd Congressional District of Colorado. And with that, I would like to introduce somebody that I genuinely admire, a true leader, not just for the Republican Party, more importantly, for for the United States of America, an innovator, a creator, and somebody who's going to get the job done, Congressman Paul Ryan, Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Paul?